Good day, and thank you for tuning in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast. For all of our new listeners and viewers who are tuning in for the very first time, I'm Pastor Pope, and thank you for allowing us to come into your listening and viewing environment. We are here with you every Monday through Friday from 12 p.m. until 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, or until 12:30 p.m. until 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, scheduling permitted, to address whatever topics you might like to discuss and whatever issues of life you find challenging or that you find difficult to navigate. We are broadcasting live from the FijiWater.com sponsored studio, where our broadcast today, 3D, is brought to you by Fiji Water, Earth's finest water. You may already know that Fiji water comes from Fiji. However, did you know that it is created by nature, it is untouched by man? It starts as a tropical rainfall which slowly filters through layers of volcanic rock, where the water collects in a natural, sustainable artesian aquifer where it is bottled right at the source, free from human contact until you unscrew the blue cap. Fiji Water, Earth's finest water, will be delivered right to your front door when you subscribe for delivery. And you will save money at FijiWater.com. This is not just ordinary water. This is Earth's finest water at FijiWater.com. And for those of you who continue giving on the Give segment of our app at New Life-Delaware, and those of you that have made a weekly or monthly commitment to support the broadcast by giving on the contribution pages of our websites at NewLifeMinistriesInternational.com and NewLifeInternationalCDC.com, and those of you who use the QR code or the link provided on Facebook and on YouTube, we thank all of you for your support and for your continued commitment as we fulfill our commitment to God to be here for you in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast. And as you know, we are broadcasting live from the FijiWater.com sponsored studio. So sip and save for Labor Day. You get 30% off on a one-time order of Earth's finest water from FijiWater.com. I'm going to remind all of our listeners and viewers that every month we are in the midst of a FijiWater.com sponsored promo, which will run throughout the remainder of this year, where one of our listeners and viewers each month, one of our listeners and viewers will have the opportunity to be selected to win a case of Fiji Water from FijiWater.com. So in order for you to do that, you have to go to our internet radio station, WKAPFaith.com, and the first three songs you hear at 11 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time or 6 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, text those first three songs along with your name and your email address to the T-Mobile caller text line at 267-992-1424. One of our listeners and viewers will be selected to receive a case of Fiji Water from Earth's finest water at FijiWater.com. I'm going to address a communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers who indicated that you recently met someone who is interested in dating you and you are interested in him. You said, however, he told you that he is spiritual, not religious, and does not go to church. You feel this could be someone that you could develop something long-term with. So, let me take you down the path and tell you why you don't want to go here. It's real easy for us to say, okay, I think this person is going to fit into my life. I think this person is someone that I could build a long-term relationship with. But the Bible tells you, do not be unequally yoked. That's the first thing. So here's the problem that you have. And I'm going to take you through a couple of scenarios here. But the first is, he told you he's spiritual, not religious. Religion is the discipline and structure. It is not a relationship with the Lord. So, in order for him to tell you that he's spiritual and not religious, what he's basically saying to you is he's filled with some type of spirit. We don't know if it's the Holy Spirit. We don't know if it's wine and spirits. We don't know if it's an evil spirit. We have no way of knowing what his spirit is. All he is telling you is he's spiritual. He's not religious. And he does not go to church. So, all of those should be red flags. See, we look for red flags in a different way. We look, for you ladies out there, here's what you look for. Are there red flags? Does he have player tendencies? Is he going to play a lot of games? Is he toxic? Does he have a high body count? Is he constantly, bedding down women? Those are the things you're looking at. Then you look at, what's his career path like? Then you look at how much money does he make? What's he driving? How's he living? You look at all of those factors, and I'm not suggesting those aren't factors that you're going to examine, because that's all part of the 7-year plan. What's he looking to accomplish long term? We'll talk about that. But the problem is you're looking at it from the perspective that he may fit in your life, and that it's something that someone you may be able to develop a relationship with. The problem with that is he's telling you he doesn't go to church, which means that if you form a relationship with him, let's go here for a moment. If you form a relationship with him, you're going to church, he's not going to church. And if he's not going to church, he's either going to interfere with you going to church, or you might have an opportunity to get him to go once or twice. But that, you got to understand, you can't change people. They have to want to change. So chances are, on the weekends, he's going to say to you, let's go here or there. He's going to say to you, let's go to the beach. He's going to say to you, I got plans for the weekend. We're going to do something else. So you're going to end up not going to church because he doesn't go to church. You've got to make sure that if you're going to be involved with someone, that they have to be someone you are equally yoked with, that they want to accomplish the same things that you desire to accomplish. They're going to want to form a relationship with the Lord and enhance that relationship. So those are the things you've got to focus on. So when we talk about, going to church, I've said this before, and I know some of you may say, well, Pastor, you only say that because you're a pastor. No, I don't care what region you're in. The fact of the matter, if you're in our area, I invite you to come and worship with us in New Life Christian Center, 400 Hillcrest Avenue, Wilmington, Delaware, 19809. But that's not the reason. The reason is we want you to come and experience a better quality of life at New Life Christian Center, because we're going to help everyone develop a relationship with the Lord. Your goal in any relationship should be to be in a relationship with someone who has a relationship with the Lord, who has already decided that he's going to spend his life not only on his personal life, not only on his professional life, but on his spiritual life. So, if he's telling you he doesn't go to church, you don't even want to go down that lane, because you have no way of knowing what's going on in his head or his heart. The fact is that I've shared with all of you, and I'm going to share this again this morning to make sure we're all on the same page, or I should say this afternoon, because the morning's over. So I shared the revelation of God, which is, if you're going to be in a relationship with someone, if they ask you out, you need to ask them to take you to church or come to church with you. If they have a home church, go to their home church. You'll know what they're being fed. If they don't have a home church, invite them to your church so that they can be fed. But you need to have them come to church so that you understand what they're being fed. He can't lead you if he's not being led. That's the first thing. So to church and out to brunch 3 times before you do anything else. 1 for the Father, 1 for the Son, and 1 for the Holy Spirit. 3 times. In addition to that, that gives you an opportunity to find out what the 7-year plan is, the 14-year plan, and the 21-year plan. You need to know that they have a plan for their lives, but they can't plan anything for your life. So it's real important that you ask him. If he says he doesn't go to church, that could mean two things. It could mean either he doesn't have a home church or he's not willing to go. Most of the time when people tell you they're spiritual and not religious, it means not only do I not have a home church, I don't go to church. I'm not going to go to church. Run, Forrest, run. Run as fast as you can, because you've got to know if they're not being led by the Spirit, they're going to be led by the world. They're not being led by the Word, they're being led by the world. You don't want to get caught up in being led by someone who's being led by the world. So you have to be willing, no matter what you think, you have to be willing to set that aside and say, this is not good for me. This is not something I should be willing to pursue. And I'm going to tell you the other perspective of that. So first and foremost, the Bible will tell you, do not be unequally yoked. Secondly, it will tell you that how can two walk together unless they're in agreement? How can two walk together unless they agree? And lastly, it will tell you that you need to be in the house of the assembly of believers. So all of those things are factors to take into consideration in any relationship. But the problem is that we want to do what we want to do. We want what we want, and we're willing to compromise. There is no compromise when it comes to the way of God, the will of God, the word of God. There's a reason that there's an old adage that says the word of God is the same yesterday, today, and forevermore. It's not going to change. And because it's not going to change, we should not be willing to change our perspective of God's way, God's will, and his word to accommodate someone else's perspective on, I'm spiritual but not religious, and I don't go to church. You know, we got to recognize how important all of this is. And I'm going to share something. It will go even deeper than that, because if you get in a relationship with someone who doesn't go to church, who doesn't, commit, and I'm going to use the word tithe, because not only do we teach people the importance of giving 10% of the church, of the resources to the church. Your resources are not just your money, it's your tithe, 10% of your income, and 10% of your time. If you're not willing to do those two things, you're going to find that there will always be some type of struggle in your life. Constantly. There'll be, there's going to be ebbs and flows in everyone's life because life happens to everyone. But you will find that people who do not go to church and people who do not tithe of their resources, their capital, and their time are always going to be going through some kind of challenge. And the reason is because they've got a lot of spirits going on because they have no foundation in a relationship with Christ that will allow the Holy Spirit to take over. They're letting whatever spirit the enemy wants to create to take over. And so it'll be difficulties in your finances, it'll be difficulty with your children, it'll be difficulties with your marriage, it'll be difficulties with your professional life. It will be difficulty after difficulty consistently. And you won't have any peace. So why would you get in a relationship with someone that's not going to assist you developing your peace or enhance your peace that already exists? We've got to look at all these things in totality. We can't just look at one aspect. Oh, I like the way he looks. I like the way she looks. I like it because she's cute. I like it because he's handsome. I like it because he's driving well. I like it because he's living well. You don't really know how well he's living. You just know the tangible things that you can see and view. But you don't know how they're living spiritually, which means you're not going to know what their quality of life is until you spend time observing, and then it's going to be too late, because then your emotions become involved, you become attached, you become bonded, and before you know it, you're in a relationship that's not good for you. And what we all should want is our marriage, our relationship, even friendships, to be good for us. To be good for us and to be good to us. Because if you can't accomplish that, if you cannot accomplish that, you're not going to have any peace. It's going to disrupt your peace. And who needs that? So you gotta realize that this isn't really someone that you could build a long-term relationship with. You could probably date, and you both will have what you perceive to be a little fun, but you won't have a great quality of life. This is not the person for you. And you've got to know that. You've got to be fully persuaded that even though he's interested in you, doesn't mean you should be interested in him. It just means you're flattered that he asked you out. Thank you for thinking of me. But at this time, it's not in my best interest. That's all. And move on. Don't play with fire, because you will get burnt. Just move on. And you'll find that you will maintain your peace, which is going to be real important. This segment of the broadcast is brought to you by T-Mobile, America's largest, fastest 5G provider at no extra charge. If you are not currently a T-Mobile customer, you may call or text on the T-Mobile call or text line at 267-992-1424. We will move you into our queue so that you may become a T-Mobile customer and experience America's largest, fastest, and most reliable 5G provider at no extra charge. I'm going to address another communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers. You indicated that you are an HR professional, and you said there are many young women who come in for interviews dressed like they are going to the club and with bright hair coloring that is not their natural hair color. You said you want to tell them, but you can't tell them that they're not dressed professionally, they're not dressed appropriately, and that all the glitz and glamour isn't going to allow them to flourish in their career, but you can't say that. Okay. No, you can't. However, you're going to have to keep passing them over, and that message that you send by them not getting the position hopefully will someday help them to understand that certain work environments, you can't do certain things. You have to appear professionally. Look, if they're not dressed professionally, you're not going to hire them, because you know what that's going to bring to the environment. If they're dressed like they're going to the club, you need to let them keep going to the club. Don't feel bad for them. Just pray for them. Now, I know you indicated that you were going to try and tune in today. You said that from time to time you're not able to be on the air, but you do go back and view the archives. So that's a great thing. I will say this to you and make certain that you have something to work with. Prayer changes people. Okay, you're speaking something into the atmosphere that is going to have an impact and change the environment. You have to pray for young women. You know, I realize you're not in my age group, but you are old enough. Let's do this. You're old enough to know better. You're old enough to know that the reason they're still looking for jobs, for careers, not settled in their careers, is because they're either showing up for interviews dressed like they're going to the club. Well, if they want to be dressed, if they want to be dressed like the club, they probably need to go to work in the club. If they want to be dressed like they're going to the club in midday or in the AM, they perhaps need to consider working at the club. Environments are different. Every environment is different, and you can only dress for the environment. You don't. So I'm gonna kind of piggyback off of something that you and I exchanged in your communication. So, and I said to you, I pray for them also, because I realize that we are setting ourselves up for failure in society. In many cases, we're literally setting ourselves up for failure. And the reason is because you're right, we do need to dress appropriately. We need to make certain that we fit the environment, that we can fit in the environment. There's a term used, pardon me, but I'm getting a little choked here. There's a term used that says someone's not a good fit. And what's really being said is they're not a good fit for the environment, for the professional environment. Because you have to be able to fit in to the environment. So you dress appropriately. If you're, as a HR professional, you know this. If someone goes to work in a professional environment, they should be dressed professionally. And this is, I said this to you, but this is for all of our listeners and viewers, because this is real important. If you're going to be in an office environment, you need to dress professionally like you would in an office environment. If you are, I'll use an example, if you're going to work in construction, you don't show up for an interview in a suit and tie, but you do show up business casual. You can't show up in sweatpants and work boots just because you're going to work in a construction environment. You'll wear that once you get the job, but you won't wear that to the interview. Because they'll tell you, okay, you're going to need steel-toe boots, you're going to need, whatever. They'll tell you, goggles, they'll tell you what you need. But you first show up to get the job. And then you observe the environment. Some places will tell you what it's like in the office environment. Corporate environment is never going to tell you. They're going to interview you. They're going to make an offer, hire you. You come in. If you don't fit, they'll get rid of you. That's the way it's done. But you got to get the job first. So you have to dress professionally. And this is one of the things I tell young ladies frequently. They don't always agree, but it has to be said. If your natural hair color is not pink, you don't want to show up in your work environment with pink hair. If your natural hair color is not baby blue, you don't want to show up with baby blue hair for an interview, because you don't fit the culture, you don't fit the environment. And I know there's a lot of people who will say, well, it's me expressing my freedom. No, it's you eliminating yourself from the process. Because your interview file is going to end up in a file that is not referenced again. It's we can't just do what we want to do because it feels good to us for a moment. It's the same thing I constantly tell young people. If you have a job and you presented yourself on that job interview one way, you need to maintain that appearance throughout your career there. And the reason is because if you come in one day and you look like you've been out all night, that no one's ever going to say anything. I shouldn't say no one. There's exceptions to every rule. Someone might pull you aside. Maybe someone has taken an interest in you being successful, and they'll pull you aside and say, that's not a good look, you don't want to do that. But mostly, nobody's going to say anything. They're just going to wait for you to eventually get released. If they wanted to hire an entertainer, they would have hired an entertainer, not you. So we've got to be aware of these things, and we just have to focus on trying to be the best version of ourselves. Not someone else, but ourselves, as we can possibly become. Now, you can send me all the emails you want saying, well, that's not fair, Pastor Pope. You can send them to newlifepastor@comcast.net. But I'm going to tell the truth. God created you beautifully and wonderfully made. You have been made by God one way. Trying to change that means that you are resisting the norms. And if you're resisting the norms, chances are you're eventually going to disrupt the norm. And companies will take a look at that also. You got to remember how important it is to stay on course with every aspect of our lives. Because one thing is for certain, consistency is one of the major keys to success. Consistency. Not today I'm feeling this way, tomorrow I'm feeling this way, today I feel this way, next week I'm going to feel a different way, today I feel this way, next month I'm going to change everything because I need a feel-good moment. Because that's not how we make the progress that we need to make to be successful and to maximize our success. This segment of the broadcast is brought to you by PorscheAmerica.com. If you are in the market for a high-performance automobile, one of the finest high-performance automobiles ever manufactured, go to PorscheAmerica.com. You will virtually have the opportunity to build out the Porsche you desire to own. And if you are in our area, you can simply go to PorscheDelaware.com. Ask to speak to Mike Didio, who's the General Sales Manager at PorscheDelaware.com. He will have someone assist you in selecting the Porsche you desire to own. And if you currently own a Porsche and you're in our area and you're just in need of service, go to PorscheDelaware.com. Ask to speak to Mike Adams. He is the service manager at PorscheDelaware.com. He will have someone schedule an appointment for you. They will pick up your vehicle at your home or office and return your vehicle to you when your service has been completed at PorscheDelaware.com. I'm going to address another communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers who indicated that you have so much work to be done. However, your friends want to, you said, hang out, and you feel the need to get out and enjoy yourself. So I know you indicated in your communication that some of you in your office watched the broadcast together. That's a great thing. Thank you for tuning in. To God be the glory. And those are some of the same friends that want to go and hang out. And so I'm glad that some of them are tuned in also, because here's the reality. You have to realize that right now is a distraction. For you to go out and hang out with your friends is simply a distraction. Why would you want to be distracted? when you know there's a significant amount of work that must be done, and you know that that work is going to result in you becoming more successful. You know that the work that must be done is also going to result in you maximizing your success. So the question you have to ask yourself is, why would you want a distraction? You know, I love what you said. You said you want to get out and enjoy yourself. Your joy is going to be in accomplishing the work that needs to be accomplished. You got to recognize how important it is for us to constantly be at work, to constantly get work done. One of the things you said in your communication is not only do they want to hang out during the week and on the weekends, but they want to travel. Another distraction. So for all of you millennials out there, let me say this to you. Whether you are a professional who is employed by someone else, or whether you are a young business owner, you got to know that travel is not only a big distraction, it also impedes your progress. And I'm going to tell you the reason why. Because if you work for someone else and you're not at work, out of sight, out of mind. So nobody's thinking about you while you're on vacation, while you're traveling. And I shouldn't even say vacation, because you were just talking about getting away, taking some time off and getting away. So no one's thinking about you when you're gone. That's a fact. Out of sight, out of mind. But then there comes and enters in another factor. And that is, the best ability is availability. So when there's projects being handed out, you're going to miss because you're not present. They need to get the work done, so they're going to hand it off to someone else. When you return from your trip, it's not going to look the same. Things are going to be moving while in your absence. And if you're a business owner, a small business owner, large business owner, startup, whatever you are, if you own the company and all you're thinking about is travel, you need to be mindful that when you're gone, your employees aren't working. Oh, they'll do just enough to finish up the day. They'll do just enough to get through the day. But they're not going to work. They're not going to give 100%, even 50% of the time you're gone. Let alone 100% of the time. And the reason is because they don't have to. You're not present. Being present is everything. You know, we want God to be present in our lives every single day. Being present is everything. So you have to realize how important that is. You have to realize how important it is for you to be in the office instead of being away on trips. You have to realize how important it is to being present to run your business as opposed to being on trips. That is not, that distraction that you're looking for is not going to allow you to maximize your success. So why would you make a conscious decision to take time away, whether it's just to hang out or whether it is to take a trip? So I'll give you an example. I shared with many of you that we've got a lot of amazing things going on right now. My wife and I could literally take a trip anywhere we want to go, anytime. But now, when I say that, meaning we would generally schedule a trip wherever we're going to go, whoever wants, is going to be away. We schedule them during the week because the weekend is so busy. We have church, charitable activities. So even when we would go, it would be during the week. But when we're away, we're still checking in, going online, doing all of the things, checking our email, doing all of the things that we need to do to keep things moving forward. Now, having said that, watch this, because God is doing so many amazing things right now. One of them, I will say, I said, if you think you have the talent to become a recording artist, stay tuned. You don't want to miss this, because we are in the process of putting together a new recording studio and launching a record label. So, having said that, we can't even get away during the week right now because of all that God is doing. So that's just not feasible, because we already had to change the schedules to fit all that has to be done. We had a major shift in schedules just to accommodate the work that must be done. So going away is not even a question. It's just not feasible, because we have a lot of things that must be done and a lot of things we have to prepare for. So I say all of that to say we had major adjustments in our schedule. So now that we've got the schedule in order, why would we want to disrupt the schedule? There's nothing that is going to enhance the quality of our lives by taking a pause and doing something different. Just to do something different. Just for the sake of doing something different. We're not going to do that. You have to. Now, I said my wife and I both, because both of us really had to adjust our schedules. And when I say adjust, it's been a significant adjustment. So I say that to say, but it's all good, and to God be the glory. What I want to say to you is, don't allow your feeling of just wanting to, as you said, enjoy yourself, to become a distraction. That's really what I'm here to say to you today. Don't let that become a distraction when you know you've got so much to do, and you know it's going to result in enhancing your professional career, and you know that it's going to give you an opportunity to maximize your success. Don't allow distractions to interfere with your progress. You just don't want to do that. It's not going to be in your best interest. This segment of the broadcast is brought to you by Fiji Water, Earth's finest water. Sip and save for Labor Day. You get a 30% discount, 30% off on a one-time order of Fiji Water, any bottle size. 30% off for Labor Day when you sip and save at FijiWater.com. I'm going to address another communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers who indicated that you have been at a level of stress that you have never experienced previously. However, you want to know, how do you keep stress at a minimal when you have so much responsibility to deal with on a daily basis? So let me say this to you. All of us who are trying to become the best version of ourselves that we can possibly become have a lot of responsibility. And it's a lot of responsibility that we must deal with daily, on a daily basis. What you don't want to allow is other people to create stress in your life. You have enough stress to be blessed. Look, I will say this. Let me rephrase that, because when I was in the corporate environment, I would always say, I have just enough stress to live comfortably. What I've since learned is, and was reminded of, that stress is a killer. So what I've decided is to live my life too blessed to be stressed. It doesn't mean that there's not a lot of responsibility, but what I am not going to allow is other people to add stress into my life. I'm going to encourage you. Don't allow people to increase your stress level. Family, friends, it's going to take me into another communication, but don't allow family to stress you out. Don't allow friends to stress you out. Family is always going to be family. However, that doesn't mean you have to allow them to stress you out. You can stop the stress just by, first of all, loving some family members from afar. You can eliminate stress from just loving them from afar. They're going to be family. You might see them at reunions if you have reunions. You might see them from time to time when there's a blessed event. But you can love them from afar. Professional stress, in most cases, can at least be reduced or eliminated. And the reason and the way is that you find a more effective method of dealing with people in your professional environment. Fine-tune your interpersonal skills. Fine-tune how you respond to others in your professional environment. If you do that, you're going to reduce your stress. You're going to perhaps even eliminate your stress. And you don't want to allow anyone, personally or professionally, family or colleagues, to stress you out by putting stress on you that doesn't belong to you. Like their own issues. You can be compassionate, but you don't have to take on their stress. You don't have to allow them to stress you out by trying to dump on you. You don't have to do that. That's not what God assigned you to do. God assigned you specific responsibilities. And they didn't include that. They didn't include taking on someone else's burden just for the sake of taking it on. It didn't include you allowing people to stress you out for no particular reason when you don't need to be stressed out. So, yes, you have a lot of responsibility. We all do. Decide how much time you're going to give to family members who stress you out. Decide, or if you're going to give them any time at all, decide who you're going to give your energy to in your professional environment. You get to make that decision. And once you recognize that you and only you is to make that decision, you will find that you eliminate some of your stress. Don't allow other people to stress you out. That's the key. Just don't allow them to come with their own issues and create more issues for you. Because that happens a lot. Just say no. And particularly with family. You got a lot of responsibility on you. You're going to have to take off your cape. Stop trying to be everyone's savior and focus on what you need to do to build, develop, maintain a great quality of life. This segment of the broadcast has been brought to you by Comcast Business. We all need to be more effective and efficient in business. Comcast Business gives you the opportunity to do just that. Call Eunice at Comcast Business at 603-222-7706. Your code is Pastor Pope, and with a qualifying gig bundle, you will receive up to an $800 prepaid Visa gift card. At Comcast Business, call Eunice at 603-222-7706. Your code is Pastor Pope. And once again, with the qualifying bundle, you will receive up to an $800 prepaid Visa gift card. I'm going to address another communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers who indicated that you do not feel organized enough. And you said to keep everything in your life in order. So you want to know, how do you do that? So let me first of all say this to you. God is concerned about every detail of your life. God is concerned about everything that concerns you. So, you don't feel organized enough, and you feel like it doesn't allow you to keep everything in order. So, I'm going to give you 2 pieces of information that, if applied, will be life-changing. So let me tell you what that looks like. The first thing you want to do is get an agenda. Get an agenda book. And I'm going to tell you the reason why. Because it's one thing to type something electronically. It's another thing to write it down. When you type it electronically, you have it. So I use an electronic calendar also. And it has dates and everything on it. But I write down everything also. And the reason I do that is so that I can take mental possession of it. Now, unless you have a photographic memory, that's going to be very effective for you. So you get the opportunity to write out your entire agenda for every single day. So I had, in my agenda book this morning, I had very specific things that I had to do before production for the broadcast. So early this morning, after my meditation, after my prayer, after my workout, then it was, I gotta get these particular items done during business hours, so let me work on these. And then I will shave, shower, and get ready, get dressed, and get prepared for production. So that was on my agenda. Now, I have an agenda. My agenda has what I have on my calendar for the afternoon when the broadcast is concluded. Prior to what's on the agenda for this evening. So, I'm just going to tell you, from 2 o'clock until 4 o'clock, I will be handling some administrative affairs that I had to carry over from this morning. So, because I had also had, in addition to some administrative things, I had administrative and I had some operational things. So they kind of overlapped. So I had to address those. So I said this yesterday, I think, for everyone to understand, sometimes things on your calendar will overlap. So it's okay. So I'm going to get another hour of reading done, because I got to get my 3 hours in every day. And So I'm going to do that from 3 to 4. And then from 4 to 6, I have something else that has to be done. And then from 6 to 8, the food pantry team will be in packing up for tomorrow's distribution. Then whenever I leave there, I will come back and I will spend 2 more hours of studying, because there's adjustments in the calendar now. But agenda will allow you to keep everything on course. So that's going to allow you to keep everything organized so that you don't feel that your life is not in order. But then you need to get a journal. If you're feeling that your life is out of order, you need to be able to journal what you are feeling, what your thoughts are, so that you can always refer back to your journal. Everyone in our church, I recommended everyone journal for a period of time. And the reason is because sometimes we feel like things are not in order. Agenda book's going to help you keep that in order. And a journal is going to help you with feeling more organized in your life. Okay, this is what I was dealing with on that day. So how do I, particularly next year? So for me, that's, when I journal, that's what I'm going back to look at. The date and what I was dealing with on that particular day. In the coming year. At the end of this year, that's what I will do. So that as the year comes in, I can remember not to allow myself to get bogged down by certain things. So journaling is good. Nothing's going to compare to you having an agenda book where you can review everything that needs to be done. You can schedule everything that needs to be done and keep your life in order. Those are the 2 things I can recommend. And then, of course, the last thing is just make sure you're reading scripture every single. It should be first, but it really is last. God is the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. So at the end of the day, every day, I review the next day in my journal. What's on my calendar for the next day, so that I know what time I'm going to find it necessary to be available, done with my meditation, done with my prayer. That's first and foremost, before I do anything else. But then what needs to be done. So I always know that's on the agenda. That's always on the agenda. But then after that, what's on my agenda that has to be done the next day. That's what I do every night before I go to bed. That's the last thing I do before I go to bed, is to review my agenda. If you do that, you're gonna get more order in your life. And then once you're done with your meditation and prayer in the morning, get your agenda out and look, and what do I have on my calendar? What time is the schedule for? Let me start working. So that's how we're going to, first of all, become the best version of ourselves. Second of all, how we're going to make certain that we get everything done and that we keep everything decent and in order. This segment of the broadcast is brought to you by Under Armour Golf. If you are interested in the game of golf or desire to experience the game of golf, go to underarmour.com/golf. You will see everything that Under Armour has to offer for you to experience the game of golf. And if you are just in the state of mind to enhance your health and wellness, go to underarmour.com. You will see everything that Under Armour has to offer for you to enhance your health and wellness at underarmour.com/golf or underarmour.com. I'm going to address another communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers who indicated that that your career has taken off. Let me stop right there and say, to God be the glory, first of all. But you say you are experiencing significant success. However, your blessings appear to be causing some envy and jealousy among family and friends. Okay, so first of all, you have to understand that their envy and jealousy has no impact on the blessings of God upon your life. That's the first thing you have to completely understand. That there's nothing that your family or friends, let me rephrase that. There's nothing you're going to allow your family or friends to do or say that is going to have an impact on your blessings. You know, their envy and jealousy only blocks their own blessing. See, that's the one thing, I will tell you this, that's one thing we always told our children. Don't ever be envious of anyone, and don't ever be jealous of what someone else accomplishes. Celebrate them, applaud them, call them and tell them how excited you are for them. You want to encourage someone else when they're having success. You want to celebrate them. And the reason is because as they go higher, you go higher. And you say, well, how's that possible when I have nothing to do with their success? But because you send up the praises, because you celebrate them, God's going to give you your own in due season. But when someone is envious and they're jealous, they will try to get you off your square, as people say. They will, but what they don't realize is they're blocking their own blessing. They will try to disrupt your psyche so that you, first of all, you become distracted. Second of all, you might get out of your character because of their envy and jealousy attacking you. Don't let it be an attack. Don't let it be the enemy trying to distract you from what God is doing in your life. They're only blocking their own blessing. And when you understand that, you will understand that if they're not celebrating you, you don't have to ask them to celebrate you. They're not celebrating your success. They're blocking their own blessings. That's what they have to recognize. And as long as they keep trying to interfere by, being, making negative comments, you can use that in your communication. Oh, she thinks she's all that. Well, you are beautifully and wonderfully made by God. So it's not because you think you're all that. You just understand that God's given you more responsibility. He's blessed you. Because with blessings come responsibility. First of all, to be good stewards. Second of all, the assignment from God is important to your life. So haters gonna hate. Let them deal with their own envy. Let them deal with their own jealousy, because they're only making themselves miserable. They're not making you miserable. They're only making themselves miserable. And they're blocking their blessing, and that's the reason they're miserable. Today's Daily Divine Direction broadcast 3D has been brought to you by Fiji Water. A taste of paradise will be delivered right to your front door when you subscribe for delivery. And you will save money at FijiWater.com. May God bless you today. May God keep his face turned towards you. May God give you peace that surpasses all understanding. Have a great day today. I want to remind everyone, tune in at our internet radio station, WKAPFaith.com, where we play music 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Music that will encourage you, empower you, and inspire you to become the best version of ourselves that we can possibly become. And remember, 11 a.m. or 6 p.m. The more you send in your first 3 songs that you hear,